G'day, good evening. Thank you for listening. This is an agricultural and horticultural show, and the information provided is for scientific and educational purposes. It is fact-checked, and any of the studies or websites or things that I go through will be put in the description below. And today is going to be excellent. Oh wow, have I opened up some interesting facts about glyphosate and our health and our plant and microbe health and animal health too. Oh, it's fascinating. It's really not good for the people who are lying, the big manufacturers. It's just really sad, to be honest. One study even says it's the new DDT. If you're watching this back, fast forward for a few minutes, and then you'll see some slides starting to happen, and that's been when I'll be starting it. Because I'll just give it a little bit for folk to arrive, because it's just me at the moment. And if it's just me, it's still all right, because this is a real interesting topic. I'll start in 40 seconds. And what else can be said? Well, I'm looking for ideas for next week's show. Don't have anything for that yet. Maybe I should start going through some more courses again. My plant breeding, crop breeding course is pretty amazing. It's very technical though, but I'm sure some of you folk out there would love to know how to regenerate to keep your vegetables or other crops going. It's pretty rad. Anyway, rambling a bit. All right, well, that's 2 minutes. So I'm just going to start. So the whole reason for making this topic is because I struggled to look for stuff in Australia. I've been researching for quite some time on the effects of it, for quite some years actually, and it seems to come up when I go through search engines that the effects need to be more studied. They're safe. They're this type of thing, non-conclusive, all that sort of stuff. And I just was sick of it. Always getting these turning up. So I asked my professor in India if he could look up for me and he could get me some stuff. Well, he did, and it's just blooming amazing. It's just blooming amazing. Am I sharing it? No. I'll share the screen so you can see what I was looking at. To be honest, it's just not good. This is what I was looking at. So I put it even into the relevant search engines to try and find it. And just all these studies, you can see how they're all red. I've clicked on them all. They're just not, they're inconclusive is a good way to put it. They're not real, this is bad, this is why it happens, this is about the shikimate pathway. Well, let's get into it. So that's why I looked further and got some interesting studies, and that was just too eye-opening, so I've got to share them. This is, because in Australia, Australia is one of the biggest users of it on the planet, and Australia says it's fully safe, fully. And it's just bloody not. You look into it, it kills microbes. They kill our guts. And this is what all these studies, see up here, I'm still sharing, yep, see all these different studies I'm going to go through. Glyphosate in food, glyphosate in agriculture, increased neuropsychiatric problems, impact of glyphosate on composition and functionability of gut microbacteria, microbiomes, because that's how it really affects. So it doesn't affect animals directly or humans. Yeah, that's right. But it affects our microbes. 90% of our cells, 90% of our cells are microbes. So if it's going to go and affect them, you can imagine how the downscale effects are. Low dose glyphosate effects alter gut microbes and modulate gut homeostasis. So all these things, adverse impacts of Roundup on soil bacteria, soil chemistry, and mycorrhizal fungi. There's a couple more, and then that's it. Glyphosate remains in forest and plant tissue for decades. That's more than 10 years. That's a pretty cool looking graphic. Oh, and the strength of Roundup that they use in Australia, I'll go through that, which is about 600, 650, which equals 650 grams per litre. So it's 65% pure, which is extremely high, as you'll need to know in some of these studies, because they know, they ask, oh, and then we go on about, can you see your neighbour if they use glyphosate? Is an interesting one as well. So that sums up today. So let's rip in. So I'm still sharing. Actually, I'll stop sharing before I start, because we're going to get here. Where is it banned in the planet? And this is a brief little rundown. One of the world's most popular weed killers, herbicides, Roundup, glyphosate, has been divided in the health community. The WHO, the World Health Organization, in 2016 says that the active ingredient in many genetic herbicides, including their Roundup, is says probably carcinogenic. So who's banned it? Well, Europe looked into it, and in France, Netherlands, and Belgium, glyphosate is banned for household use. Isn't it sad? Germany, the home of chemical giant, where this comes from. Did you know that this is patented by, it's actually these people, because these people bought them out, because they've got to change the name, of course. It'll get rid of all these different legality problems. But it was patented, it's still patented, as an antimicrobial. Glyphosate Roundup is patented, as it'll show up here, as an antimicrobial. So yeah, Germany's banned it in public places. And Austria and Luxembourg both tried, but failed to ban glyphosate. The US has billions of dollars in lawsuits, even though that they decline and they say that they're not, though the owner of the company that puts it out. The firm, oh, here it is. The firm denies such claims that they have paid out billions. What? We'll just keep lying. That's what they blooming do. Did you know that the big tobacco thing in, I think it was the 90s or the 80s, they paid scientists, what's the company? No, it's just them. Anyway, they paid the scientists to lie under oath. So they got up on the stand, and a big pile of them lied and said that smoking nicotine is healthy. So that's why they didn't ban it and stuff. And now they've turned that over and found out it's not the truth. That's the same with this company. So Latin America, is it banned there? Well, Brazil, the powerhouse, concluded that glyphosate has presented no risk to human health, as per is said in Australia. Where have I got that? I think it's this one. No. Let me just find that, because it's pretty blimmin', I just couldn't believe it. No risk to human health in Australia. Oh, there it is. So I'll get back and share again. So is there any problem in Australia? Well, in Australia, it poses no unacceptable risk to human health or environment when used according to label instructions. Did you know too that the big, or Bunnings, they've got pretty much sell every product has Roundup in it, and that only 80% of them, sorry, only 20% of them say that they've got it in it, but they all pretty much contain it in it. So if you're going to go and buy any sort of herbicide, pesticide, it's pretty much going to have this in it as well. And also that comes up a bit later. Looks like this is going to be a big show. As you can see, I go into detail because it needs to be told. So yeah, that's what they also say. Glyphosate has no human risk in Latin America. But Colombia and El Salvador have banned glyphosate. Good on them. While Mexico pledges to outlaw it. And in Asia, it's only the Sri Lankan government tried in 2015, but cancelled the ruling in 2021 because the same thing in Australia, for lack of scientific evidence. Well, guess what? There is scientific evidence, and I think Australia has chosen to exclude it from our search engines. So the foods we are eating that actually contain Roundup, Australians are eating the Roundup chemical glyphosate for breakfast, and parents are unknowingly feeding it to their babies. Yeah. This is a summary of what is in these studies. So it's found that glyphosate was found in multigrain bread, wholemeal, spelt, rye, and white breads. So pretty much all breads, savoury biscuits and crackers, and rice-based breakfast cereals, flours and crackers. So it turns out that the reason why it's in all these crackers is because that big company that produces glyphosate have also developed crop varieties, genetically modified crops, rye and other sorts of cereal crops that are glyphosate resistant. So that's why it shows up in all of those. So yeah, I've changed my diet since knowing that. So it was found. So however, I'm not going through all these studies word by word, I tell you. I'm really going to skim through them. But I'm going to leave all the studies in the description below so you can go through it later. So in a recent landmark case, the US couple was awarded $2 billion damages in California when they were found that their cancer was caused by exposure to Roundup. But remember, they've just gone and says that they've denied anything like this. It's sad, isn't it? That's why I'm going through all these studies, and Australia doesn't care either. Like, I really hope this gets out in Australia. I don't want to cause problems, but I want everyone to be blooming healthy. If we can do it organically and not this bloody herbicide-y, lethally way, it's terrible. And it gets in our groundwater too. Anyway, I'll just keep on reading. So that's about 13,000 US patents are suing the company which bought Roundup, while a Melbourne gardener has launched Australia's first legal case, and councils are reassessing their case. Yeah, so good on them to start. I'd love to get in contact with that person, just share the facts that how bad this blimmin' is. Human exposure to glyphosate is limited to Roundup, the popular brand. Here we go. Yeah, the chemical is also the active ingredient in more than 500 products approved for use in Australia, many of which are found in the supermarket or hardware store shelves, used by backyard gardeners. Of the weed killers on the shelves in Bunnings, for example, this says, all but a couple of products from 2 brands listed glyphosate as an active ingredient. Shame on you, Australia. Dead set shame on you. Glyphosate kills microbes beneficial to plants, animals, and humans. So what it does, it affects the shikimate pathway, which is involved in aromatic amino acids, and they directly affect microbes. That's why this is patented as a antimicrobial. So therefore, that's how the downscale effects happen. So let's go through this Protecting Health and Environment website from the States. I think the States or Canada. Let's blow it up a bit. So I'm going to skim through this as well. I'm skimming through them all because I'm not going to sit here for hours just to go through it. This is all the facts that I've said will come up here. So yeah, there is good stuff in here. I remember reading, but I just can't. I'm trying to do it fast because I don't want to get it boring. With an increasing number of reports on the relationship between glyphosate and human health, including potential effects on the human gut microbiome, advocates are calling for this to be eliminated. Let's go down. The report begins with glyphosate's fate in soil and water. The chemical breakdown into the primary metabolite, AMPA, within a few days. However, if you got clay or organic matter in the soils, they both absorb glyphosate and this metabolite, slowly breaking down the process, making it worse, and it's long-lasting in society. I'll go on through later on, it can stay for up to decades in soil that they've found in Europe studies. And actually, there's another one in Canada, in BC as well, I'll go through. So that'll do for that. Oh, yeah. North and South America have the highest concentrations of glyphosate in surface waters on the top of the surface. However, rain, treated water, drinking water, and surrounding air also contains glyphosate and that AMPA metabolite residue. So their rain, treated water, and drinking water contains it. So you wonder why there's so many cancers, carcinogens, all this sorts of stuff I'm going to go through in the health reasons later on, heart problems. Could all be coming from this one thing, but they won't get rid of it. So the MRL, the maximum residue limits. So the US has set a daily limit of the maximum residue limits that you're allowed to have in humans. It's like 10 micrograms per kilo a person. So what's this going on about? Oh, it's saying the studies find that farm animals ingesting glyphosate contaminated fodder, so if in other words it's been sprayed in the paddock, their urine and poo has up to 96% of the compound present in the urine. Even domestic cats and dogs contain glyphosate concentrations in their urine because they were fed farm animal fodder. In human urine, samples 90% of farm workers, 60 to 90% of the general US population, and 30% of newborn have high concentrations of concentrations of glyphosate. So you wonder why you're not getting healthier. You do all these good things, you'd really try. Well, I could have found your answer. Look around you. Do you think it's getting? Did you know also, I used to study the weather for quite some years, and that when converging winds, when there's a thunderstorm around, the winds rise. I'll just write converging, diverging, just to bring up some pictures. Oh, I am still sharing. Oh, that's not going to limit help. Winds. There, that'll do. So when there's a big thunderstorm, you get the ascending air, it goes up. So it converges. And then once there's a high pressure system over the top, it pushes down, it's diverging. So you know that because you get your big cumulonimbus clouds that are forming, and they've got to form from somewhere, so they just keep converging and sucking the air up. So therefore, these sprays get into the atmosphere as well. So if these farms are spraying in high windy days, or even high days that are, say, thunderstorm orientated, they're going to get a converging wind going up, which is going to put it into the rain clouds, and that's how it gets it up above, because the farmers don't care. Because remember, most farmers are interested in money, not health. I'll go back to it. So the report also covers the impact glyphosate has on microbes, soil, and humans. Glyphosate acts on the shikimate pathway present only in plants, fungi, bacteria, archaea, and protozoa. So it's only in plants and microbes that it's present in. But 90% of our cells are bacteria. So therefore it does affect us and animals directly. That'll do. I'm going to really summarize here. Oh, and they've got, for instance, glyphosate-resistant bacterial strains. So, and they're usually all of the bad ones that survive. Bacillus cereus and Bacillus anthracis causes anthrax and causes food poisoning, both of those two species. So it's really, really bad. All of the good ones are killed off first, and then the bad ones try and survive because they have this resistance built into them. Oh, here we go. Furthermore, the authors note the connection between the gut health and neurological diseases, as individuals exposed to glyphosate also experience higher incidences of ADD, ADHD, autism, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's. So if you know anybody with those, have a look around their surroundings. And are they one of those persons that have induced a lot of cereal crops, or are they around farmland whose farmers don't care? So you can maybe help quite a few people from this these studies. I'm going to have to somehow go way faster. Oh, yeah. So this is the bit that says more than 90% of the crops in the US are from genetically engineered seeds. Therefore, above the tolerant to glyphosate, which is corn, soy, and cotton. They've gone and developed those. That's why the crops are fine. This company is making a lot of money. Soon they'll develop the remedy for it, so humans can get fixed by it or something. That's what they. I shouldn't start talking. I'll stay on topic. Gut microbiota plays a crucial role in lifelong digestion, immune, and central nervous system regulation, as well as other bodily functions. And through the gut biome, pesticide exposure can enhance or exacerbate the adverse effects of additional environment toxins on the body. That's how it affects us. Yeah, the longer it's used, the more resistance is going to be built up as well. And it's just going to be terrible. There's a case of through animals. Botulism actually is a bad sign of what's botulism. Well, botulism is a rapidly fatal disease in cattle that causes paralysis. And it's so by the glyphosate being in the cattle and their fodder, and they're probably the drink and the air. Well, I've got a photo of the cattle eating sprayed glyphosate hours after it was sprayed, and there's big herds of cattle just tucking in, and they keep coughing, so they've got lung problems. And I just thought, oh, nothing of it. Well, they probably got a botulism because of glyphosate. I've seen some of them drooling too, and some of them staggering, but it was because I thought that their paddocks that they have, they're not real kept well, and they had problems with their legs. It could be because of this. If you go on to read this, it's just a big eye-opener, and it's mega sad. That's why I had to really look into it. I had to put this talk out today. So this says, there's information. Well, they'll all be in the description below. In the use of glyphosate in modern agriculture, resulting in neuropathic conditions between our gut and brain. So remember those countries, even Australia, saying this has no ill effects on humans. So be careful on who you take to believe in future. I really suggest believing papers and studies that are done with no bias. You read the bottom at the below, and then you can pretty much, if they all say similar things, you can really pick up what's sort of going on. That's what I do. I don't listen to the news and all that sort of stuff, that anything these days, really. Everybody's trying to tell you what you want to hear. So let's go on. What's that highlighted bit? 180 million pounds annually are sold in agriculture. So that's just gone into the air. Then 8 million home-to-home gardeners. All right, let's get down. So the increase in glyphosate usage from 1974 to 2014 in the US, 66%. Increase in residue levels. Well, in soy, is 100%. In corn, it's 4,900%. So what's that? 49 times the normal residue limit has increased. This is all because of they just introduced and they start to use glyphosate. So increase in depression rates in the same range, 52%, and increase in depression range among older people, 63%. This is all about the same time. They introduced it, they started using it in the US. Mega sad. Everything's tripled all the problems that have happened in this so-called Western diet pattern. Yeah. So the gut-brain axis, so that's how it works. The gut microbiome normally has a symbiotic relationship with all of its hosts in the immune system. But with like the lactobacillus, the stuff you get out of your milk and out of your cheese and things, like it's just found to just shred them. Bye-bye. their metabolic pathway through the shikimate pathway is hindered, therefore they can't complete their normal functions. Like this, the gastrointestinal system and its microbial participants. Okay, very good. I'm definitely not going to go through stuff like that. Glyphosate, unless it's very summary on point. Both glyphosate and glyphosate-based herbicides. No. This is who it directly attacks. Oh, there's how it goes into the lactobacillus, both of which are highly susceptible to glyphosate. So don't go drinking milk or eating your yogurt and stuff anymore, people, because it probably does nothing if you're in a glyphosate area, which is most of us. Righto, skim, come on. Exposure to glyphosate residue, yep, isn't good. Let's go down to the conclusion, I think. Overall findings. To ban or not to ban is the question. Why should we ban this stuff? Geez, glyphosate has been a scandalous, profound four-letter word. A word like politics or religion, not to be discussed at the dinner table. How will farmers survive? It is estimated that widespread ban on glyphosate would increase carbon emissions. So why should we be doing that? Gee whiz. This is all the time. You can see how studies are written, pro or for, or against it. So the thing is that contributions note the conflict of interests. So the authors declare that the research was conducted in the absence of any commercial or financial relationships that could be construed as potential conflicts of interest. That's the main thing to read, because most of them, like this, might be written by, and it was funded by Bayer, Monsanto, or stuff like that. And you know straight away, if you read that, don't read it unless you are like fake news. Glyphosate in food. So residue levels have increased, as we've already gone through. Studies children have slow, high susceptibility to it. All right, get into it. Here we go with the maximum residue levels allowed. This might be the one that says the actual. Glyphosate is recognised as the world's most widely used herbicide to control weeds in more than 100 crops in 130 countries. It is commonly used, this is what you've got to avoid, weeds, fruits, vegetables, forest plants, wheat, corn, canola, soybean, and cotton. If you're into your health or want to know more, I really suggest these are really good reads when you've got time. I've read these slowly over the last couple of weeks. There's your maximum allowable limits for newborns. They reckon you can allow 0.01 milligrams per kilo. Isn't that just damn terrible? It's just so it affects. This is a chemical patented as an antimicrobial. And they're saying in the US, you're allowed it in newborns in the first 16 weeks of their age. You wonder why. It's going to cause autoimmune problems down the track. It's really bad. It kills your microbes. Symbiosum's gone. So you can get it from the air, water, and soil. Dermal or ingestion exposure through water and through foods. Human exposure to glyphosate. Well, even my neighbour, you spray it, yeah, but what about the residues that are on the ground? So when they go and stir the ground up, those winds are going to blow my way, and I've seen effects from that even. So you don't just worry about the actual sprays, you worry about the actual residue and all the material afterwards. This glyphosate metabolism is limited when exposed air, accounting for less than 0.27 administered radioactivity in rats, suggesting negligible biotransformation into volatile. Let's get into it. approximately 4% of. Okay, glyphosate regulations. Occurrence and prevalence of glyphosate in food. Here we go. So here's a big chart of the amount of glyphosate in foods around the world. So the country is here, and here's the foods, and here's at the end is the amount. So that might be in pico, like it goes milli, micro, nano, pico. So it might be 12 decimal places, but it's still an amount. And if it's in honey, well, it's affecting bees then. They've got microbes inside of them and on the outside of them. So that's might be why they get in the varroa virus. Lebanon, I should go over here. You can see, no, I'm going to go up and down. Oh, right, come on. There I can. In Canada, then it goes into nanograms even in oats. In the US, there's just heaps everywhere. Latvia's got it in their beer. So that's because they would they'd use rye or that might even be in their hops. Honey, see look, this is milligrams. That's not even, remember, it's milli, micro, nano, pico. So milligrams, micrograms, then nanograms, then pico. So that's micrograms in honey. It might be in Northern Europe, but still, these are just examples of, you've got to be very careful wherever you are thinking, oh, I'm going to eat organic honey. It's not organic honey, is it? Look at the US. Frozen vegetables and fruit juice and baby puree. 0.1 milligram. Oh, because that's the legal limit in the States, isn't it? Remember, for newborns. Holy. 0.27 in UK in their cereal. So that's actually more than, so if you're giving your cereal, those things to infants, for infants. Holy mackerel. Glyphosate regulations around the world. Okay. Health Canada. 20 milligrams you're allowed for soybean. 5 milligrams per kilo for wheat. So you're allowed to go and spray. It must be at all these limits. What's Australia? There's 650. Well, glyphosate 650 Roundup's what they constantly use in Australia. Glyphosate 600 has 600 grams per litre of the active ingredient. 600. This is talking about 0.2 per litre, you could say. 0.2 you'd mix up, where in Australia it's 600, if I do my maths right. It's the new DDT, like it says. Oh, look, here we go. In Australia, animal testing of wheat flour, 22 samples. Oh, yeah, and what happened? Now I've got to click on this thing to see what blooming happened. Oh, it's going back to the, not doing that. Just shows really around the planet there's glyphosate levels nearly on everything, and it's sad. It's nearly like the new COVID thing. We're going to have to nearly get used to it and have our immune built for it, but it kills microbes. It's patented as an antimicrobial. Fair income. I'm not going to get worked up. Yeah, children are particularly vulnerable to glyphosate exposure for several physiological and development factors. Wow, but children in the UK would have all these problems because of that. In conclusion, the global assessment of glyphosate contamination in food products reveals widespread prevalence across commodities including milk, meat, cereals, vegetables, and honey. Despite this, the majority of residue levels remain below the maximum amounts per day. So that's what they go on. They always say, because our stuff tests at that level, it's, what are you talking about? Mind your business. Impact of glyphosate on the gut is another one. I think I can really wrap up. So I'll put all these things down here. I don't remember samples of many multiple sclerosis patients. It's more so if you've got anything wrong with you, you'd want to read this and see if anything you can be linked to glyphosate from any of the practices that have been done, or anything you're eating or you're living or your air, food or water that you've got. Look how big this paper is. Potential effects on human health. Where's the ones that I've remember going through? Low exposure dose. I don't remember going through that one. It's around microbiome in cauliflower ground. No, where's the BC one? Glyphosate remains in the forest plant tissue for decades or more. So glyphosate applied at sublethal doses in some cases remains in trace amounts after 12 years. So remember in Australia how we use a massively high dose rate? Well, there's a high chance our soils have it in it for years. It takes, there's a few microbes that can break it down, I was reading, but those microbes have been killed off. So to get those in higher numbers built up again, it would be pretty hard, and they might have to have a resistance built into them. Oh, this is a BC study, cool. So this is the one that they studied in northern British Columbia, that glyphosate remains in forest plant tissue for more than a decade. So the glyphosate has been used for reforestation since the 1980s to reduce competition for seedlings. And you think, oh yeah, it's all doing its good job, but actually is it? Well, the findings say that glyphosate persists for 12 years, roots retain glyphosate for longer than shoots, and higher concentrations of glyphosate and its prime metabolite is more plants for a longer duration in colder climates than warmer climates. Well, remember I was saying before, if you're in a warmer climate, it might be bound up in your organic matter or your clay also. And if you use it in higher amounts in warmer climates, where it mightn't have had a chance to actually break down because it's just killed too much stuff, like what I see around me. So we're going through that one. So that's pretty much, I think, all I pulled out of that one. That was just horrible. And Canada are quite eco-friendly, even though Australia reckons they are with a load. I'm talking about the governments, not you and me, because we are. But I'm sure Canada will do something about it. Where Australia, they think more about the farmers first. And, oh, what can we do? The farmers, how will they survive? Well, there's probably farmers that are paying big money to some of them. Get into that. All right, let's get out of this study. Next one. So that's the strength in Australia. Good, nearly done. That's all I want to bring up at the end. And that's about, so now, why is glyphosate not banned in Australia? Well, because as of 2023, Australia has not banned glyphosate. Australian Pesticides and Vet Authority reviewed glyphosate and concluded it poses no unacceptable risk to human health or the environment when used according to the label. That makes me really mad. Not mad, sad for our people coming up, because they've got to try and deal. It's like climate change. They didn't believe it until they had to see it happen. But yet the glaciers have been retreating for 50 years. This is the same sort of thing. It's the new DDT. Be really blooming careful. If your neighbour sprays in his yard, can you sue him? The answer is yes. If the neighbour sprays and you have drift, 100%. From reading these cases down here, it's a bit different, the title, but from reading this and other blogs, all you do is you document it. Document. Actually, that's what I wrote to them. I wrote to them and they said, give us some money. Oh, here it is over here. But yeah, document. Thanks for the info. The lawyer can help you. Damage caused. Have you documented the damage caused to your plants and communication with the CEO and staff? Oh. So that's all they're after. So document it, the damage. So take good before and after photos if you've got it, and then a few days after they were doing this and that. And because remember, it doesn't just happen from the spraying, it happens from the drift, from the dirt and stuff like that, and the residue that might be on the leaves. So that's about it. And that was the diverging winds, how it can get into the upper atmosphere. You know, actually it can get up in the atmosphere and it can travel for thousands of kilometers, 600 miles, because that's how far the atmosphere churns around up top. So when the cumulonimbus clouds are up top and they're spinning, they're getting converged upwards, and they keep growing upwards and upwards. That's why you see the big anvil out the front of it, the big cloud-looking thing at the front of them. And then once it goes higher into the upper troposphere, that's when it gets cold enough where it can form hail, and then it gets pushed around and it gets up again and gets colder, and then more particles go onto the condensation nuclei, and that's how it keeps growing and growing, your hail, and it keeps spinning around until it's heavy enough where it goes green from a distance, you see it, and then it drops. So yeah, it can travel for thousands of kilometers if the farmer doesn't care about their wind pattern for the day. I haven't even seen if there's any words. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, people, I haven't said anything. G'day, Generic Memory Farms, how's it going? What yield source? Here you go, mate. Well, g'day. We have some strange findings for the chemical treated plants, polyploids. Most of them seem to have reverted back, but the stomata did measure bigger. That's good. Reverted back. You might want to do a smashed chromosome test. That's pretty cool, and that will tell you how many chromosomes are inside of it, just to make sure that you have got ploidy in full effect. You might also like yield source. I just did 5 modules on polyploidism breeding, and that was pretty rad. Yield source said the flowered plants produce way more. That's sites and smallest. That's good. I have control and experiment groups side by side. I will email you photos if you'd like. I'd love to see them, mate. Fair income, I'd love them. Hell yeah, please do. GMF says, as of June 2020, Bayer Monsanto, which is responsible for glyphosate, has settled over 95,000 Roundup lawsuits for $11 billion. Remember at the start they were denying it? Oh, I love this sort of information. These big companies, they think they can say whatever they want. People are just going to believe it. Not this day and age. GMF goes on to say, agricultural industry has considerable political flex, and not just Monsanto, but other companies which were corrupt for price fixing in the 80s and 90s. The Corn King, John Deere, all have lobbyists. And even that Philip and Morris tobacco, they did it too. It's sad, isn't it, mate? It really, the thing is, people like to go and the people like to go and believe what they see in advertising and how things work. All right, oh, quick, kill your weeds. Okay, rad, it works good. No bad harm for the environment. It'll say on the front. People just go and do it, but it's not true. And there's not much. Well, I'm not going to do much about it because I'm sick of lobbying and sick of that. I just put the facts out. I hope other people can take up this information and get results, and then I can get on board and help out with them. But I'm not going to directly do it. Yield source says crushed chromosomes, smashed chromosome test. How you got it? Any slides on it? Yeah, I'm sure I would. I remember seeing it. Look under my playlists under breeding, and there might be under that, or under ploidism. There might be some under that. Or you can probably put into your search engine, squashed chromosome. I'm pretty sure squashed, smashed. Chromo slide. Squashed. I'll share your screen for you. Where am I? Well, that pretty much wraps up the glyphosate, and I reckon that was rad. I hope everybody that helps a lot of people. And yeah, if they've got any questions, please put them in below, and I'm more than happy to nearly even help you with this one a lot, nearly lobby for you, or really help you, because glyphosate is just putrid. I'm all about organics, and glyphosate is about killing microbes, patented as an antimicrobial, and I'm about increasing the microbes. So it totally goes against my practices and beliefs. Here's this chromosome squash test. What are they saying much about? What's this? I haven't seen this. Preparation of the squashes. You need a microscope that looks up, a compound microscope that can see to 1000x, like legitimately, which means if your microscope can see the stomata under it, you should be able to have a chance in seeing this squashed chromosome test. And it'll come out pretty blurry, like here, but you'll see in the plant, because you have two sets of chromosomes, 2N, meaning a diploid, and then it's got, so you see here this is what you'd aim to look at for the test. It won't be as clear as this, but you can see all the chromosomes in there, the long looking carrier types, they're called, one of these things. That must be them all segregated. Where's the equator? Here it is here. So that's when they're going to their metaphase, when, well, actually, we're not talking about this stuff, about breeding. That's just before the going to the equator. Must be, can't remember the phase, telophase. Anyway, back to squashed chromosome test. You want to squash it, and then you can see under a microscope on what the chromosomes are doing. You count them, how many are under there. Okay, preparation of chromosome slides. Here's maybe another one. That's better looking, because that's what you'll get. You get two types, and then they'll split one side off each, and then they'll halve. That's when they'll go through and reproduce. So we're not talking about that. Stick to the point. Topic. Preparation of chromosome squashes. How students can prepare their own slides showing which phases they're in, so you can see the chromosomes. So maybe I'll put this in the description below as well, because this is pretty important for a proper diagnosis of the chromosome count for the ploidism. What's that link? Teachers. Look at this. This might be, if you're still watching Yield Source, you might want to buy this. $3. Students go through their own. Oh no, it'll give you it's the onion roots though. But you might be able to substitute that for. It'll probably come pre-dyed. Yeah, I bet you it does. Anyway, I'll put this. You can see get to this from that link down below down there, which is a little bit on how to see. It should be. Just had to complete at high school, but more so, it's pretty easy. So I'll put that in the description below as well. Well, actually, I should see if any questions. Gee whiz. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. I'll take a look at it. Yep, that's fine. Please put your words into chat if you have any now, because the show will be ending soon. So I've gone through pretty much all I wanted to go through, just putting out the point form and the study papers on how bad it is, and how bad it is for our health and our pets and microbe health and our plants and substrates health as well. It's not good. What it does too, that was one study, it lowers the pH. Let's go back to that. It's really bad for the cation exchange. It makes the cycling slower, it's a good way of really nearly sterilizing everything. It might be something that we could put to my, well, actually that was my microbial biotechnology teacher that sent me this information. It might be nearly a technique that they wouldn't even touch it because of how bad it is for the environment. Oh, there's a glyphosate fact sheet. What's this? I've put together. I'll just have a bit of a skim on this first. It might be. Oh, okay. Let's have a bit of a skim through this. So this is from, why don't I just go to that page? Oh, that's where you can get it from. All right, I'll share this because you've got to do it the right way. I want to give you all the information you can on glyphosate because when I tried looking, I struggled in Australia. People overseas would be all right, or maybe use a VPN. But yeah, this glyphosate fact sheet. East Bay pesticide alert. This, I remember, summarised quite a few. Oh, cool! I can do that. It summarises quite a few of the studies. And then just reading this, this is the thing I should have probably gone through at the start. You can see, look at the usage just skyrocketed. Oh, gee whiz. This tells us about our human health. So the USDA has plotted the effects on human health. It's just everything's bad. How it's carcinogenic. In Sweden, they've said that the study of hairy cell leukemia, a form of cancer, found that people who were working in that environment has a higher exposure rate to it. Tumours in male rats increased from being exposed to it, which is cancer. Genetic cancer caused by Roundup. Look at those lines. I don't need to explain those. So genetic damage, those lines were for genetic damage caused in animals and humans in their blood cells. But remember they were saying before that it doesn't affect, it's virtually safe for humans. Mutagenicity. So the cells will go and mutate. So they'll form different forms which are more than likely not healthy. And that's how what develops cancers and stuff too. So that's how this directly causes cancer. Liver and kidney function problems. Male reproductive system has gone down by 20% from farmers. Jesus. Toxicity of its major metabolite. Remember the AMPA, it's a major metabolite, which stays around for decades. The illegal advertising. So in 1996, Monsanto negotiated an agreement with New York Attorney General that required Monsanto to stop making certain health and environmental claims in ads, and glyphosate paid $50,000 in costs. So this is all, oh yeah, look at all the different examples. Another one in 1998, Monsanto had to pay $75,000 after false and misleading information. And look, and plus, I'll just look at that. Look at the fine. This is an international, multi-bloomin' country. They probably got 1 million working for them, people. So $75,000 is an absolute bloody insult. So that should have been even 75 billion. It probably would have hurt them, but even 75 million wouldn't touch them. So the fines and the courts, everyone's working with them. Like they're the, you know, they rule. They have so much money and political influence that that's why things are probably the way they are. Contaminated in food. This is what I should have read at the start. These are all good stuff. And all over the places in the States, people were getting, in California reports, irritant effects, people's eyes, burning of the eyes, blurred vision, peeling skin, nausea, headache, vomiting, diarrhea, chest pain, dizziness, numbness, burning of the genitals and wheezing, all from glyphosate. In Great Britain, they had breathing problems, treated with Roundup. The drift. How far? Look at this. In California, a study found that drift was 800 meters or 2,600 feet from an aerial or ground applications. Like I just explained before, it depends which way the winds are going, doesn't it? If they're going up, well, it'll go a lot further. But if they're going left or right, which is what they test on, okay. Also, it depends with topography. If you're blowing on the edge of a cliff, it'll go to the valley below, which could be further than that. So these are very biased tests. I look at that as in the 70s as well. Helicopter application. They also do it with helicopters. Lucky my neighbour boom sprays it. He doesn't helicopter it. One across. And fixed-wing aircraft's another way that they do it. Isn't that good and just amazing? Imagine the drift from that. And look at the buffer. Calculated the buffer zones, 75 meters, like 200 feet from a fixed-wing aircraft. It's just, if I get the helicopters across the road, I've already told my neighbours, I'll be out there filming it with under it and taking them to court because with a wind vane as well, holding it, and you can see the, oh, wow, the wind's blowing. Oh, it's coming my way. Who would have thought? Persistence of movement soil. Well, its half-life, it's saying in here, can be from a few months to a few years, and it depends on where it is and how the structure of the substrate is and the temperature and moisture and microbes, because you need microbes. The ones that break it down are the cellulase ones I was reading, so like Bacillus pumilus. So if you've got compost heaps, it might be beneficial, it might break down quicker. But if you've sprayed it on bare fields that don't use compost, that have nothing like that, it might take years, and then they spray every 12 months. So all of a sudden they're just compounding it. Gets into the water. Yes, it percolates down because it grabs onto water molecules, kills the bad environment. Growth on earthworms. Glyphosate on the growth of earthworms. How bad it is. Repeated applications of glyphosate reduce the growth of earthworms. Isn't that just sad? Do you know that the intestines of the earth, that was something in my organic growing class, affects the non-target animals. Beneficial insects, all other insects have downscale effects if the microbes are gone. Like remember the whales, they feed on phytoplankton. If they're gone, there's your earthworm test. Rainbow trout, showed it at different ages. It's in the fish. They're the different ranges. Roundup, or glyphosate. Effect of glyphosate on nitrogen-fixing bacteria, and stuffs them too. Has a direct impact on birds also. Small mammals, yeah, more studies show it does affect it. Endangered species seed quality. Nitrogen fixation. I hope you're getting affected like I am just reading all this. Plant residues. What can you do about it? Australian researchers reported that a population of annual ryegrass has developed resistance and tolerant 5 times the recommended field application rate. Isn't that good, eh? So that's why, not including my neighbour, he uses ryegrass and says, we can plant straight after we spray. It doesn't hurt the environment. They're his words. We can plant straight after we spray. It doesn't hurt the environment because he hasn't been told that he's got the GMO ryegrass. That'll do. That's today. I don't want to get worked up. I want today to be pretty cool. So What does GMF say? Well, they still only get one vote. So if you're of the mind to, you can help lead a political movement to ban it from Australia. Jesus. You are an island and can organise to keep it out. Mate, I'd love to. I'd really love to, but I wouldn't lead that. I would help. I couldn't do it with my... I'm starting... I haven't even said it on this show, I don't think. I'm putting my agricultural skills into practice, and I'm farming. So nothing to do with illegal things. It's, yeah. So that's why I'm getting right into this agricultural stuff, mate. It's blooming excellent. It's garlic. I'm starting a garlic farm. So I'm busy as doing, because I got to remediate the soil. And remember, this is in a region where they used to spray. So there's all sorts of different practices that I got to put into place to remediate the soil and improve things, cycling. I got to improve the cation exchange. The organic matter is poor. The structure is poor of the soil. The microbes are poor. Everything's been really depleted. But I've still got soil. So I've just got to work with it. And I know how to do it. So I'm putting all the practices into place. It's going really, really well. So, and then I've got this semester, full-time university is 4 courses. And I've got 3 courses this semester at university as well. So between those 2 things, and then I've got to look after me and etc., I've got no spare time, mate. So that's why I'd like to help someone. And I would really, the amount of people, I've written to a few organic societies in Australia on this glyphosate, 1 got back to me. And then they were saying that we're a volunteer, a place that we'll put it to our members and see what our members can come up with. That's what the answer was. And all the other people haven't got back to me yet, mate. So Australia is new to organics, what I've been told at the agricultural shop. So, yeah, good luck. I'd say next century, in 2100, that's when organics would be good in Australia. But, yeah, I've struggled. I really have struggled to get people who are even familiar with the topic. Even in the universities here, they don't teach it that much because it's not practiced. There's no money to be made in it. You've got to go and pay the blooming glyphosate people. Then you've got to pay for their GMO seeds. And then everything's good. You just do it that way. And then you get, that's how they've been taught, mate. It's sad. Because my studies are majority overseas in India. It's I get taught different ways. And I can see the difference. It's phenomenal. It's quite sad. Hey, congratulations. My alum friend. Thank you for your nice words, mate. I really try hard. My courses this semester are the plant crop breeding, microbial technologies, and what's it? Hang on. I've got lectures up at the moment. What's the course name? Food microbiology for safe and sustainable foods. That's my 3rd course. Quite fun. I like the microbes. It's all about them. As you know, 90% of our human cells are microbe cells. Same with the plants. If we can make them work for us, that's what I do. I have had a lot of success with bio-pesticides and biofertilizers. It's just terrific. So it's all down to my studies. I love it. Love studying. That's why I put this show together, because I just love sharing agricultural engineering information on all of the latest stuff and what's going on, and the truth, and the organics. I don't like to promote synthetics, so it's the organics. So if you've got any questions or stuff, I need some direction for next week's show, actually. So if I'm going to change this slide, I think, when I get some time, and make it more agricultural now. And, yeah, go forth from there. Because I've got many, many years of study still left of me. And this university, they put out 600 courses each semester. So there'll be forever new plant science, soil science, and microbiology courses that I can do. So I'll just be sharing. So it's great fun. All right, I don't really know what I'm going to do next week. So I hope to see everybody next week. and I'm looking for suggestions. It might just be an open. I remember a few shows ago, actually, there was a couple of questions by Aussie Jeffro and Genetic Memory Farms. They both made a suggestion each. So I'll have to try and look up them and see what they are for next week. And then we can discuss next week what might be a good show for me to after that. Yeah, well, that's about it. Thanks for listening if you're still listening, or if you're watching this back. I really appreciate your time, because we're all busy these days. This does go to a podcast, so you can always watch it, listen to it on YouTube on my playlist, or it goes to a normal show, so you can watch all the slides and get behind the organic movement. It works. Okay, thanks everybody for listening. I'll see you again next week, same time. Happy breeding, happy growing, good health to you all. Bye-bye.